All right, so it's Quarkus BOF against using ChatGPT for technical and non-technical presentations. All right. So, okay, well, let's hope some more folks join as we go. So this is the Quarkus Community BOF. If you have noticed, there's a lot of Quarkus presence in this Devoxx because there's a very big part of the team attending, like the first row more or less. We had an engineering meeting like the last few days in Athens, so it was a great opportunity to, combine this with Devoxx and meet more people from the Quarkus community. We had a special event as well yesterday for Quarkus, and this is the program for the rest of the day. So it's this BOF remains, and then we have another session with Holly and contract testing with Pact and Quarkus. And at the end of the day, we have the security talk with Sergey and Stefan and Stuart, I think. So I think we could start with just saying a few things about Quarkus 3 that has just landed last week. And I thought one way to do it was, since we have all the people here, to just go around and say a few things about the new features in Quarkus 3. We could just as well demo something quickly. We have George and other folks here that can use the laptop to show some stuff. And then also, for you that are here, any questions about anything around Quarkus, the technologies we use, or where things are going, or pretty much anything we can discuss it. So maybe we start a bit with Quarkus v3 to get to warm up a bit, and then we can move on. So who wants to go first from our team? I can just pick a random name.
Do you want to come up there, or do you...
Yeah, we have also a microphone.
Okay, yeah.
Just do open.
So I'm Paul Robinson. I'm an engineering manager working on Quarkus. So Dimitri asked me to think about what my favourite new feature in Quarkus 3 was. So I really like the fact that you can update it easily. So if you've got a Quarkus 2 application, it's very easy for you to update that code to Quarkus 3. So you basically just run a really simple command line command on either Maven, the Quarkus CLI, or with Gradle, and it will update your code. It will update your JavaX packages to Jakarta. It will update the Quarkus version, and it will make various other updates as well to your code. So hopefully it's very easy for you to move from Quarkus 2 to Quarkus 3.
And maybe you should explain why you need to move because of micro profile and Jakarta E namespace.
Well, yeah, so
we could even show it. I mean,
yeah, well, you talk,
Okay, yes. Yeah, so one of the changes is I don't know if you know, but the Java industry, we had to move from JavaX packages because Oracle held the trademark on those. So we've had to rename the Jakarta packages to the JavaX packages to Jakarta. And that meant people changing a lot of their code. But the update tool will just go and do that for you. And there's, I guess, Max, do you know about other code changes that a developer needs to do?
Yeah, so the main one is Jakarta, and there's mutiny moved from one flow API to another.
From reactive streams to flow, because it's time to evolve.
To JDK flow.
Yeah, to the JDK flow.
Yeah.
So the same API, different package.
And the other big one, which unfortunately we only can't do all of it, is the move from Hibernate 5 to Hibernate 6, which give a ton of improvements, basically around how it generates SQL and the query stuff. But there's two changes there that is breaking, which is the criteria API was deprecated like 8 years ago. But now using fully the API. And then there's a bunch of other changes in Hibernate 6 that again was cleaned up. So if you're migrating from a Quarkus app, if you are not using Hibernate, the migration should be fairly easy. If not, we consider it a bug. If you are using Hibernate, we have a dedicated guide to it on how to do the upgrades.
Who's using Hibernate?
Who's using Quarkus? Oh, more than using Hibernate. Good.
Yeah, I think there's extensions as well, right? So upgrading the extensions that you're using.
Yeah, so
The update tool will upgrade those as well for you.
There's Quarkus platform, which is the test to be the unified set of things to be verified test. And then there's the whole what's called the Quarkiverse, which is a ton of community extensions. And the update tool will also know if there's a new method. If you go for Quarkus 3, if you should update those. So in general, if you're using a typical Quarkus app,
Δεν έχω κάποιο παλιό
migration is easy.
κάμφος που μπορώ να το βασικά κάτσα το... Ναι, κάτσα το κάνω δεν ήταν και δεν ξέρω αν με αφήνει.
I guess just try it, right? Just
Yeah, I think what he's George is about to create a
excellent.
Quarkus 2.16 application using a few things, and then he generates it so that he'll get a standard looking Quarkus app.
Sorry, I mean.
And then he's going to run Quarkus update.
Actually, yeah, I removed one by accident. Okay.
While he sets it up,
The Quarkus update tools is made in collaboration with there's this product called OpenRewrite, which is this tool that can analyze code and config files and other stuff and map from one version to the other. And we have in Red Hat we have a tool called the migration toolkit or windup, and that team and us has worked on writing these OpenRewrite rules. So those rewrite rules are there and can be used fairly easily. Are you building the 2.16 now?
Yeah, I've just downloaded it.
So one of the downsides, upsides is the way OpenRewrite works is that it wants to have a working product first, and then it does a delta and verify if it went well by compiling again. So you have to have to migrate. You have something that works first. It's not a big requirement.
So until this downloads, Max, do you want to say your favorite?
Well, that's the whole CLI.
Yeah,
so maybe we can take them while we wait for. How many?
We only got one favorite.
Well, that's a big favorite because I can do ChatGPT with it. No. Well, so the other thing is that the CLI has been something we've added in Quarkus 2. People can always use Maven and Gradle to do all the builds, but we felt it would be nice that there's like a CLI that you can use to just, hey, this is how you do Quarkus Dev. You don't need to remember the long command line, create project, that kind of thing. You just Quarkus create. So we had that for a while. And there was like all these wishes and requests to add a new feature to CLI maybe not every day, but at least monthly. And we kind of had to say, sorry, we can't keep adding stuff to CLI. It's just going to grow and be unmanageable. So for a long time, Ionas and me have been talking back and forth, and then suddenly Ionas found some time, and then suddenly went implemented. So now we have a plugin model in the CLI, meaning that we can write plugins to the CLI that hooks into Quarkus. And once George shows the upgrade, I can show the plugin stuff.
Okay, yeah. So here we have a Quarkus 2.16.6, so latest Quarkus 2x line. Basically, this is like generated code which uses JAX-RS and Hibernate, right? So JPA. As you can see, it's all Devoxx here and here. And the idea is that we provide you the Quarkus CLI, which I have here, which gives you a bunch of commands. And one of the commands is Quarkus update. So if I do Quarkus update, let's see what happens. Update goal is experimental. Let's see. Do I have to set the stream here, or does it pick up the latest automatically?
Let's see what it does. The network is super fast, though.
Yeah. I mean,
You're connecting through your phone, blah blah blah.
yeah, and in here, I mean, I've got.
I think that Clement's network goes way faster than that.
It picked up something.
So it's downloading a bunch of probably OpenRewrite dependencies. Okay, yeah, so this is like clean, like a totally clean run of...
We are well prepared.
No, I don't work on this laptop. I work on a desktop.
Gotcha.
You still have your other, what was your two? Still fetching? The other window for your...
No, the two has been downloaded.
Yeah, no, 2's downloaded. Yeah. Now I'm upgrading from 2 to 3, right? So this is running like all the OpenRewrite stuff behind the scenes, and hopefully when...
It's like a Matrix movie.
It's like more like Matrix.
Yeah, that's what... Yeah, it's...
You had to call this or brand it as an art installation.
No, that was better.
Yeah. Until it goes, maybe we should say something that doesn't require...
Yeah.
Nothing
Nothing right fit.
Holly could say a few things about Pact testing. Yes, this is my...
So in my former life as a consultant, so I'm Holly Cummins, I'm one of the engineers on the Quarkus team, but I have a former life as a consultant. And I did a lot of microservices projects, of course, and they always broke, of course. And so one of the things that I'm quite enthusiastic about is Pact contract testing. So when I joined the Quarkus team, part of what I'm looking at is how we write extensions, making sure it's as easy as possible to write extensions. So of course the best way to do that was to write my own extension. So I wrote an extension for Pact. Because you've been able to use Pact with Quarkus for a while, but you couldn't do some of the cooler Quarkus things like continuous testing. So and Pact, it does a lot of stuff with testing. Obviously, it's a contract testing framework. And it does a lot of stuff with Kotlin, and there's all sorts of weird little behaviors with class loading in Kotlin that meant it was quite hard to get continuous testing working. But with Quarkus 3, we have continuous testing working with Pact. So now if you have the extension, it will use continuous testing. So it's not core Quarkus, it's an extension, it's part of the Quarkiverse, but we did have to make quite a few changes in core Quarkus to fix all the bugs I found, basically. And Stuart kept fixing my bugs. Oh, and I'll be talking, if you missed the slide at the beginning, if you do want to know more about contract testing and Pact, the talk after this one in this room is me doing a demo, because it's even longer than Georgios' demo, so I'm not going to try and do it now.
Great stuff, thanks Holly. And since you're close to Yannis, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Yannis. And one of the things that excite me most about Quarkus 3, since Max called dips on the plugin, I would say that is the ability to invoke extensions without having to add them to your own project. So usually extensions have a build-time part and a runtime part, and there are also extensions that have what I call the op-time part, which is neither runtime or build-time, but gives you the ability to perform some sort of operation, like, for example, perform container image builds, deployment to various platforms, and those kind of stuff. So those kind of extensions do not necessarily need to be part of your application. You don't need to add them to your POM XML, to your build Gradle and whatnot, because they don't actually affect the runtime. But so far you had to do that. In Quarkus 3, you are able, through the CLI, to use them without having to add them to the project. And it was a major pain point for me, because I was working with Kubernetes and OpenShift and Docker and Zip and buildpacks, and I constantly had to swap the extension that I had to my project. But with Quarkus 3, you no longer had to do that. You can use the CLI, which is awesome, and get that without having to do any kind of change to your actual project. So this is the most exciting thing for me, because it saves me a lot of time, and I don't have to do all those kind of things. Perfect. And maybe, I say maybe because I implemented that, I don't know.
Could I ask you a question? Well, I'm not sure if you're going to...
Go ahead, yeah.
Is it okay? Yeah? So, most of the examples you do, which for obvious reasons being as short they can be, tend to be single module examples. Right? And I'm pretty sure, I would guess, that when you do a Quarkus upgrade running the CLI or whatever, you operate on a single project. But most of our projects, even if you have several Quarkus applications, tend to be multi-module ones. Whether they be Gradle or Maven or something else, but they tend to be multi-module ones. You really want to do these operations on the whole repository, including whatever modules for libraries.
Yeah.
Whatever you have. Right?
Yeah, so Max can.
Yeah. So we will get there, but we want to make sure that at 3.0 we could do an upgrade of Maven and Gradle single modules, but it should also work. At least some of the upgrades should work for multi-module. And if they don't, we consider it a bug. So please open and we will handle them. There will be cases we can't handle just because of the obscurity of what can happen in real life of funky dependencies. But fundamentally,
We've never heard of that.
no, I know. So the perfect product will probably work. I don't know the current state, but fundamentally, technically, it is possible. But I know we haven't tested all combinations yet. So yeah, the functionality is there.
Cool. And that's it wasn't many minutes since you released 3.0, so I guess it's not.
Yeah. And that's an important thing for 3. We didn't really want to call it 3. We want to call it 2.21 or how many numbers we're on. But the whole Jakarta Hibernate 6 kind of forced our hand in saying, okay, this is actually a significant one. But all the other stuff is the same quality, same maturity. And so therefore 3 is just, hey, we just move forward and then set the base, and now the update tool and that stuff will improve over time. But we feel that's enough to at least get most people going on it.
I think it's over.
You want to do the update one?
Yeah, so the update completed, right, after a long while. And in this case, this was really simple, as we explained. So all it had to do was change the Devoxx packages to Jakarta for both JaxRS and JPA. And obviously it changed all the necessary properties in the Maven project. So if I now go MVN test, everything should just work. Assuming that I had downloaded everything, but yeah. Let's see what failed. Build exception, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, so good point. Yeah, I have Hibernate, but I didn't add a, what's called a JDBC driver. So yeah, okay, if I do, actually our code.quarkus.io should probably have some kind of suggestion there. Whatever, Marie. Yeah, I know I have to download it, but of course.
Do we have this support for users to move from Java 8 to Jakarta?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it does.
Yeah, that's what the update command does.
That's exactly what it is.
I'm guessing it's not your favorite feature.
Yeah.
Well, that's dev services for me, right? So everything just works. Yeah, I should have put it here.
Again, okay. So let's move on. Francisco, maybe you want to say something that doesn't require downloading anything.
No. I can tell that there are many interesting features coming from Quarkus 3. One is related an incubator work on Vertex called IOU Ring, and IOU Ring is maybe not so well known, but if you have been in the consultant world, I know a few banks that tends to pay a lot of money for network card like Mellanox, and a specific type of network stacks like Solarflare. And usually you pay for that a lot. And in the kernel has been implemented this new mechanism to talk with the kernel in a synchronous way that is very good for event loop, IO-driven kind of application, a reactive one like Quarkus. So with the Quarkus 3, you can make use of it. There are obviously a few things that are, requirements for that. One is to have a recent enough kernel version, like 5.1, and finger crossed if you get more, it's just better. It's not experimental at the point that it's going to explode your own laptop. It won't happen, I hope. But it's a work in progress from a kernel perspective. So it means that things can get just better. And they are already very good. I shouldn't share number, but nothing is written. No one is stopping me. It's about twice the performance in many cases for free. So that's all. That's it.
So we should clarify twice the performance for network bound.
Obviously. In the cases in which the network is the primary bottleneck, or better, when the interaction with the kernel are the primary bottleneck, you can get that level of performance. Same hardware. That's the beauty of the things. The other side of the coin is that you can sustain the same throughput with half the CPU cost. So it's not just a matter of be faster, it's the matter to save resources. That equally important, let's say. So in half of this year, with the neural version, we'll probably provide IOU rig in. So can be used in production, but don't email me.
Before we go to the next one, do you have any question, like something you want to ask or discuss up to this point? Or we can continue with, more stuff from Quarkus 3? Cool. All right. Let's...
Okay. So another thing is, again, actually, I'm taking one from Ionis who did it. We've had, like, Quarkus has build time and runtime separated, and we have also automatic initialization of like databases using Flyway, Liquibase, and other kind of pre-initialization where, you need to have the database moved up to a certain state to do migrations. So in Quarkus 1 and 2, that was all done, when you boot it up. And then Quarkus is a cloud-native framework, or at least trying to be. We didn't really have a solution, so people had to, when you run in production, they had to turn that off, because otherwise, if you have like a Kubernetes cluster and you start up multiple nodes, how do they organize their initialization? So that was kind of on your own kind of thing in Quarkus 2. So since Quarkus, I guess 3.0, was it 3.0 or 2?
It was 2.16.
Yeah, the latest 2.16, but so in Quarkus 3 we have it as a kind of official thing. So if you now we will create an init container or a Kubernetes job so that when you actually deploy, you can configure it to run this job before it runs all of init nodes. So you get an orchestrated initialization either with your Flyway or Liquibase or any other extension who wants to add kind of configuration. And in 3.1, we're going to have that you can add your own initialization of some sort to that init container. Like a small thing, but it makes deploying to Kubernetes like super trivial without any extra setup. Any other favorites? Yeah.
On this side. Yeah, Galder.
Hello, my name is Calder. I work on the GraalVM team within Red Hat, so I'm working a lot with Quarkus because Quarkus, one of the features of Quarkus is taking your Java application and using GraalVM to transform it into an executable. And then for Quarkus 3, we haven't done that many things, but a small usability improvement we've done is for those that are on Windows and Podman. We now support building Quarkus native executables using Podman on Windows, which is It is something that has been asked for a while. And apart from that, I also have got another, my favorite feature aside beyond native is actually Quarkus format, which is something very similar to Go format, where it will go take your Go code and format it in a way where all the projects are formatted in the same way, and Quarkus just added it, I think, in Quarkus 3.
Okay, no.
I think so. I saw it yesterday or the day before.
I'll show. Yeah.
Has anyone mentioned the new dev UI?
Well, I was
Yeah.
going to say,
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get there. So,
Show something, Matt?
yeah, just now we have the. So you mentioned it, the format thing, and I talked about the plugin. So you see, I'm running the Quarkus CLI. I say Quarkus plug lists installable, and it shows that you can install the Quarkus FMT and the Quarkus kill.
It works very well as we saw in the other
Yes,
demo.
that's just
Kills everything.
Yeah, it's a very very efficient thing.
Well, it kills everything on my laptop.
Yeah. So.
do it.
So, don't worry. Right now, I don't have any plugins installed. So if I run Quarkus, you'll see there's no kill or format installed available to me. But if you just go and if you have Quarkus 3 CLI installed and go Quarkus kill, so Quarkus kill function is an plugin that is just gonna help you kill anything that's listening on the port 8080 or whatever port you have on. And yeah, we have to came up with some useful demo as the first one, right? And now it'll say, hey, you don't have a kill command installed, and it'll ask you, do you want to install it? Then you say yes, and it goes and fetches random code for internet, which we don't like, and it will ask you, do you trust this source? So this is the Quarkus IO catalog, so of course we do that, so we will trust it limited. But I just want to highlight that we've been very secure aware that we don't want just to install random stuff, so we will ask you the first time we do anything, and if not, then of course we don't install it. So what it actually, in this case, it's actually it's a JBang script with a project that can run like Java code, build it automatically and that kind of thing. So this is being lit meta. So it's the Quarkus plugin downloads a JBang product, builds it. That product is a Quarkus app that then goes and kills Quarkus. So yeah, very meta. In this case, there was nothing running on 8080, but if I have one, it would have done it. And the same goes with the formatting thing. I'm not going to do that here. I'm not going to mess up whatever we have. But if I do format again and command it that's not there, it will go out and look and ask to set it up and install it. So one thing that, since we have ChatGPT as our competitor in this slot, how did I get where I was before? Yeah.
You need to have some job video on any job.
Yeah, of course, right?
Yes, we have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, quick one. So imagine you're in an enterprise setting here. You have a couple of hundred developers and you want to have, for obvious reasons, some kind of enterprise internal catalog of Quarkus, these kinds of things. And
yes.
You don't want every developer to get the question that, would you trust your own site because it would just create havoc? So
yeah. So what we do is, so I haven't shown, well, this is not my machine, so it's a bit hard to show, but when you install into a project, if you're inside a project, it will default set up in your root directory, in your projects directory, .quarkus CLI config, and you can record the things you want to do. And mind you, these things can be JBang scripts that are anywhere, or it can be scripts you have in your project, or it can be a jar you publish to your main repository, like all the combinations. And you can install it locally for your project, or globally for the user. And I believe that the first time you run it, we will ask you. But if you say yes to your org's thing, you won't get asked again, right? And that's another thing, I don't have a good demo of it, but an extension can also provide plugins to your project. We don't have any example of this because this was literally added like a few weeks before GA. But the whole idea is that we can add stuff to this CLI without you having to do much in a safe way. Ionis? Yeah.
Theoretically, it should be possible to check out the source code of those extensions that would otherwise be part of the repository and just use them locally without having to go to a remote JBank catalog.
Yeah, you can also have very local, all the combinations should be there. Yeah. Okay, so just to give an idea of what you can do with this stuff, and I don't want to, how do I do this? Does IDEA work here?
Yes.
Okay. So I should be able to do that directory?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is literally just a JBang app. Nothing fancy here. It just says which dependency it is. This is using 3.0 CR1 because I wrote this before the GA was out.
Should we ask, do you know what's JBank?
Hey, see? It's fully known.
Two people. Very quickly.
Very. Where's the browser? Here. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. This is not a keyboard. No, I'll manage. I'll get there. Because the internet is so fast here. So JBang Dev is a product I made for fun some years ago. It's like the idea is you have single file run in Java since Java 10.11, but it doesn't know about dependencies. So I was like, hey, we can do better. So JBang works with Java 8 and onward, and it has these instructions to go and get dependencies, and it will package up your application as a jar and run it for you. Meaning you don't, as a developer, you don't have to know about Java C, Java, how to install Java. We'll get it for you, and it'll just kind of run. You can even go and click try. In here, this is like the simplest. Oh, now you see the test the internet. So this is embedded IDE in the browser, and the code is not very big. But anyway, I can execute this thing in the browser, and it's gonna print out something very quickly. There, it downloaded dependency to make text to ASCII. And that little, it's something JavaScript should have had for like 20 years, but never did. So yeah, and you can get started very quickly. So that's what we use in Quarkus, the plugin. We use JBang as the one to kind of call these things. And this can be source codes, it can also be jars. So basically it's like a Java compiler, builder, launcher tool kind of built in. But it's just, the code is super trivial. It uses standard Java C. There's nothing magical, it's not like a new fancy build tool, even though it behaves like a build tool. But yeah. Okay, how do I get back to where I was? Yeah, that one? Okay. So anyway, so this means you can make like single file Quarkus applications. This is a Quarkus, this is a Quarkus Pico CLI implemented command. And basically this just calls out to OpenAI, ChatGPT, to explain what a source code file does. And then if I go back, hopefully, is that here? Yes. Right? So if I now, for example, let's say I do Quarkus create app testy. Let's see, that should be fairly quick because you downloaded everything before. Yeah. So now I'm in a Quarkus thing. So if I go Quarkus, I think I did. Did I install explain? I don't think so. I think you're just using it local. Yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna go Quarkus plugin add, explain to Java. So it's gonna say, hey, you wanna install that explain Java that you have locally. Again, it could be remotely if you wanted to. That's there. And since it's local, it doesn't ask because it trusts that you trust your own machine. So I go into a project. So the idea is, again, so if I go Quarkus explain, the tab for some reason doesn't work. Explain source main Java org acme greeting resource. So that's like the default one where we have a REST endpoint that does something. Like, so I'm a new user on this project, and depending on ChatGPT, that didn't work. Why didn't it not work? Didn't it work? You know what? I'm just going to cheat and say something failed in my test. Yeah. Something failed in my demo, but anyway, you get the idea. So now it's just sending basically the source code to ChatGPT, and it should tell me in a few seconds that this code defines a RESTful interface using JAX-RS. It has an endpoint called hello with that annotation, and that's it. And you can do the same thing for the key, like application properties and stuff, and you can kind of learn. So anyway, that's a demo of ChatGPT. Shows that you can make your own little extension that does something, that kind of thing.
We do chat videos.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move. We have another minute. So, Japan, what's your favorite feature from Quarkus 3?
You were in another project, so you added the explain command to the previous project, and you tried to invoke it.
Well, think about it.
Hey, yeah, I'm Alesh. I'm an engineer on the Quarkus team. One of the things we did for the GRPC, I mean, it's like a recent feature. It made it already in the latest 2x, and it's also in 3.0, right? It's the previously we had a separate NET server to serve the GRPC services, and with new Vertex GRPC, that's like the old Vertex GRPC and the new Vertex GRPC, and the new Vertex GRPC can actually plug into an existing Vertex HTTP server. So it means all the security, all the setup that we had to do, it's like a duplicate setup before, either for the web server and for the separate NET gRPC server. That's not required anymore. You can just hook up it into the existing web Vertex HTTP server, and the gRPC is gonna, the services are gonna be exposed through that. So it's like no more duplicate configuration of the gRPC.
So more developer experience joy. Sergey.
Hi everyone, my name is Sergey. I work on Quarkus Security. So one of most interesting features in 3.0 exclusively is permission-based access control. And so, like currently, for example, you can restrict access with roles. Yes, so you can say roles allowed admin or user with permission-based access control. You can do fine-grained checks like see, all, and stuff like that. And if you introduce on the token security, you can now use Edwards CAF security keys to sign and encrypt your tokens as well. Yeah.
Just add for the security.
Well, Steph and his Renard project has helped the documentation that was in the Renard project, which is a server-side rendering framework we've done as an example of what you can do in Quarkus. He went through all the pain on how you configure Apple ID, GitHub, Twitter, Facebook, OIDC providers. That's now in 3, at least the latest 2x and 3. That docs is now part of Quarkus guides. So if you want to try those, then there's a walkthrough thing that explains all the stuff we can't fix, like how Apple and Twitter works. But we can. Oh yeah, we had the whole security session about this stuff. Yeah.
At the end of the day,
yeah. So I think George is about to show the very important feature.
So this is the feature that I love, that I would have also loved to be able to write myself, but for me this is like nuclear physics. I mean, yeah, development, UI development for me. That's what I would write basically. So this is our new UI, right?
Dark mode.
Yeah, in dark mode, which was the most important feature. So Philip, who is unfortunately not here, gave us the ability to use light mode, dark mode, or the system default, right? So in like what, most operating systems, there's a system default and what you want, and this just picks it up. For those of you, like, who has never seen the old Quarkus Dev UI? Who has seen it? Okay, excellent. So okay, so the old UI looked like this, right? It was okay-ish, right? It gave you insights into what was going on, but it was very out of date, and some things were kind of hard-coded. It was kind of hard to extend, things like that. So Clement and Philip and Max had a lot of discussions around how we can make this better. So visually, this is way, way better. In terms of functionality, like, we started out basically porting what was already there. So I think we're at almost one-to-one parity now. But the important thing here is obviously dark mode. But other than that, the important thing is that this gives us a much better foundation to build upon so extensions can add like much more cool interactions, right? So now, like, obviously you could see what you could see previously with all of the internal components and everything. Like, you could see all your configuration. This stuff looks a lot better than it used to. So if I would say like info, I get a lot more stuff here. Now, yeah, we've integrated the build metrics that we used to hide. So this is like an advanced feature that if your Quarkus package is slow, you could like check out and try and find out what's going on. Obviously, there's continuous testing here, which there's an awesome UI that goes along with the core feature itself, right? So this will show you like all the tests that have failed and has some cool graphics and things like that. Now, we also have this info endpoint, which was a highly requested feature, actually. And basically, it gives you in the production mode, you just have a JSON, which would give you like the basic information about what's going on. Or if I had created a Git repo, it would also have Git information. But in the Dev UI, obviously, you don't want to see it as raw JSON. You want to see like all this cool stuff here. Disclaimer: in our 3.0 and 3.01 version of Quarkus, this and this was wrong in the Dev UI, but we released 3.02 yesterday, and it's all fixed. So definitely, check this Dev UI out. It should make, go ahead.
So one question about this new Dev UI. You mentioned extensions.
Yes.
Are there available extensions from other community projects like the Cognito Fair community? So, because I don't know how much those people work with them.
Very, yeah. So,
is it possible to review, for example, BPMN diagrams or decision trees in this UI?
okay, so currently not yet. Okay, because like this was added, like this was completed, let's say, like very close towards the end of the cycle of Quarkus 3. So very few people had the time to pick it up and like add stuff to their extensions. But that could easily be done in the future. And that's exactly what we envision, right? Like to provide much more, let's say, useful and optical insight into what's going on. Yeah.
Next question might be silly, but again, in an enterprise setting, you probably want to do your own extensions for stuff that is for one reason or another in-house. And maybe also to simplify things. So I may have a couple of Kafka clusters, for instance, and for various reasons we want to provide most of the configuration for that, and just mainly to simplify, not to provide all the configuration.
Yeah, yeah.
As you get here. So I want to basically show in or shut in the Quarkus extensions for, say, Kafka, whatever. But I don't want those to end up in the dev GUI here. I want to make sure that we have the extensions available, but that we use our own in-house GUI just to simplify.
Okay. Yeah, currently we don't currently know, but it wouldn't be hard to add that. I mean, it's just a matter of like you requesting the feature, and we'll figure it out. Yeah, Clement was.
It works right now because the Kafka UI is the one that has not been migrated yet.
Okay, so it works by accident.
That's a way to solve
But just make sure.
We can discuss it afterwards. That's not like
No,
Yeah. But again, if you have your own Kafka setup, don't you still want to have the Kafka feature available to the developer to like see the queue and that kind of thing?
No, well.
What you talk about is like, hey, I want to have a shared configuration I can put into my projects.
Actually, I want to simplify drastically. So, if you're using such and such a service, use this default configuration that we have provided that would do all the bells and whistles. Just choose the red or the blue flag, something very, very
Yes, yeah. But that's a configuration sharing reuse kind of thing. You still want the developer who has that running in his service to be able to see, oh, what's Kafka connection am I using? What data is available, that kind of thing. So configuration sharing you can do in a bunch of different ways.
I'm just finding out sort of where to go here. It's not necessarily trivial to know what tree to bark up.
But try find us outside afterwards, and we can figure out the use case. But there are different approaches to do so.
Can I take a picture? Who likes the new dev console?
Lovely.
So this is in-house selling material?
Yes, it's to make people in Australia happy.
I'm curious, no one asked the question like what you do with Quarkus and Loom. So maybe I'll ask the question to Clément.
It has to be my favorite, because that's not my favorite feature actually, so. No, of course it was Uring, but Franz stole that for me, but yeah. So I'm Clément, I'm working on all things reactive and Quarkus. And so yes, we are working for almost 2 years on Loom integration. So project Loom integration and virtual thread support. In Quarkus 3, we had many improvements around that. So basically, since 2.14, I think you can already use virtual thread in Quarkus if you run on Java 19, 20, or build your own 21, like me. So you can already use @run on virtual thread, and it will switch. There is plenty of reason why it's not automatic. Loom is there, but the Java ecosystem is not ready. There is plenty of things that need to evolve in the Java ecosystem to use Loom safely, and that's why there is this explicit annotation that make, hey, are you really sure? Because you can also shoot yourself if you don't know what you are doing. So that's why we have this explicit annotations. What I can say, well, it's there is plenty of things that are going to be delivered on Loom in the next few months. Typically, so what we did deliver. We have a new Redis client, all Loom compliant. It's the only Redis Java client that is Loom friendly that exists out there. So it's one thing. If you speak French, you can see Holly's and my demo from Devoxx France, where Holly was speaking French, where we demonstrate Redis with virtual thread. We did the GRPC client already working on virtual thread, and there is plenty of things like that are already working. And what will be delivered in the next few months, next few releases, we have Kafka support. So Kafka and Loom, very not best friend, really not best friend. They don't want to talk to each other. No, so we are working on that. It will work. We have found a way, more or less. We have also, what I would like is to have the run on virtual thread in GRPC services. That's more for Alesh over there. And yes, once we have that, we will have almost a complete support for Loom, which will be great. We want to go even further. However, right now the Loom API does not let us do more, so we are trying to show and to discuss with the OpenJDK teams that a few small changes will really enable the next level of concurrency in Java. And that was not my favorite feature. Well, Dimitris, you need to go deep. Well, my favorite feature is what's coming next.
Keeps everyone, on their toes. So, Jason, what's your favorite one?
Yeah, so I have another one of these deep thought ones. Sorry. No, my favorite feature is the community. So since March 17th, 2019, we announced Quarkus. I think the version was 0.11. Yes, 0.11. Now we're talking to you about 3, which is a fantastic journey. 230 releases to get here. And the thing that excites me is that we have 794 contributions, like unique contributors who have contributed to Quarkus. I think we have around, somewhere, is it 500 extensions or close to it?
793.
Oh, thank you, 793. Yeah. Anyway, we have a lot of extensions, yeah. And so all these great features that you're hearing about today, I mean, these are a bunch of passionate contributors are behind these. And if you have ideas, we'd love to hear your ideas on new things we could add. But also, you could do it as well. It's a GitHub project. You could check it out. Join us on Zulip. We have a dev channel if you're interested in doing, maybe you've never contributed to an open source project before. Quarkus is a very friendly place. It's high tech, touches all kinds of neat technology. So if you just want to try something new, or maybe get really passionate about the feature that we're not moving fast enough on, you can help motivate us with the patch. So that's it. I just want to say thank you, and that's my favorite feature is everybody here. Thank you.
So, so another one which actually relates to community is Quarkus has a very, what do you call that? Not a passive aggressive, what's it called? A very aggressive release cycle where we believe we've done, it's not aggressive. We've done in Red Hat and middleware that most of us come from. We've done releases that has it takes years before new features can come in. That's great in the past, but today, a new JavaScript framework pops up every week. So we said, okay, we can do once a month of release. So that's what we've been doing since March 2019, basically a monthly release on average. And we will continue to do that. And then Red Hat offers commercial support where we take one of the branches and maintain in a commercial setting, which we will also continue to do, but which hasn't been announced yet, but we announced it in a community meeting yesterday, so I can say it now without being fired, is that the branches that we will productize will also be long-term support in the community. So that means that where we before always kind of supported the latest, and if there's any aggressive issues out there, we did do backports. Now we will announce which branches are the long ones, and the plan is 3.2 will be the first one that's a long-term support, and then we will continue to do it sounds like great, continuous releases, and then at some point there'll be another cutoff there. So that means there'll be a long-term support, which if there's projects that are slow moving in the community, we now have a point that is officially, that's the one we do, which we think we're now ready to kind of start evolving through. But the idea is to continue to be, new features, move forward and don't stand still and pick up what we can, while at the same time provide for those who doesn't want to move every month. So that should be officially announced soon, but
Any other comments from the guys that didn't talk, Stuart, Stefan, or was there something about Quarkus? No?
I was going to say my favourite thing is that we finally fixed the Kotlin class loading, but Holly beat me to it.
Who else didn't? Ozan, you want to say something?
Yeah, I can speak about maybe the kind service. Hi, I'm Ozan. I'm working at Red Hat on the Quarkus team as well. And the Quarkus Kubernetes dev service is what excited me about this release. I don't know if someone I haven't worked on that, so somebody can talk more about that. I don't know, Yanis, or who worked on that?
That was actually a community.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow, that's great. So that bridges your point, yes. It lets you. In Quarkus we had this dev service mechanism. Did we? No, we don't have any networks to be able to. Oh, you you couldn't download. No. Anyways, so we spin up like databases, Kafka, other services during the development time, and this one actually spins up Kubernetes inside Docker, and you can deploy onto that Kubernetes your application. So that's pretty handy to test your apps Kubernetes deployment.yaml file that has been generated also by Quarkus.
Well, I just want to add, just to say, that's one of the things that approach we take in Quarkus, make sure everything is just easy and you can try out. We, of course, will love everyone to have an OpenShift instance they can run on automatically. That takes a little long to do. So yeah, the first container dev service, Kubernetes dev service, I think was using Kind, which is the Docker thing. But another thing that's been added actually is this is using test containers and Docker and that whole thing. But you can actually run. We also aren't just limited to Java and Docker. There is an API one that is running a Go binary for your platform to get the API layer. That means you can do like interaction and testing for any Kubernetes API very easily. So yeah.
All right, I think we reached the end. Thank you for sticking until this time with us. For more Quarkus, overdose, 2 more talks on testing and security. And you can find us at the stand there, discuss anything about Quarkus. So we're here today and tomorrow more or less. So thank you very much.